South East Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.
South East Radio.
Well, €10 million in funding has been allocated to regional and community-based projects that are focused on helping enterprises to adapt to the changes caused by COVID-19 and Brexit. Administered by Enterprise Ireland, the Regional Enterprise Transition Scheme will be available to projects supporting digitalisation and assisting in the transition to a green economy, and will be widely welcomed by businesses in those regions. Now let's meet our first guest. The Primeline Group has recently created a new alcohol and marketing distribution company, Bevella, to promote Irish brands. The Managing Director of Bevella, Paul McInerney, joins me now to discuss the idea behind the business. Paul, you already have a long and distinguished career in the FMCG sector.
I have indeed, Carl, yeah. I'm over 20 years working in the Irish fast-moving consumer goods sector and channel in Ireland. I've worked for some very large multinational companies, the likes of Coca-Cola, PepsiCo and Heineken in senior sales and marketing roles. And I've also worked for a number of Irish companies, the likes of O'Brien Fine Foods, who would be synonymous with the brand Brady Family Ham. And literally, I suppose, starting, Carl, driving a little merchandising van around Dublin when I qualified or graduated from college, working my way right up to senior leadership and directorial roles in the FMCG space.
And Paul, from those illustrious companies that you've worked with over the years, what were the key learnings that you got from them?
The key learnings were you're not the smartest person in the room. And if you think you are, there's a problem. There's always great people around you that you can learn from. The second thing really, Carl, take personal responsibility. If you assume somebody else is going to do it, it's not going to get done. Take personal responsibility for it and then work with others to get it done. And then lastly, Carl, I think one of the things that's really become clear to me over the last 5 or 10 years is simplicity. Complication and convolution is the enemy of simple, good business. So try and make it as clear, simple, understood as you possibly can, and that gives you your best chance of success, in my view.
Good points, I have to say. Now, provide us with an overview of the Primeline Group and the position which it currently occupies in the market.
Yeah, so look, the Primeline Group itself is over 30 years in existence. It's an independently owned Irish business, which started really as a logistics company and I suppose has pivoted into sales, marketing, customer service and providing the full range and gambit of services to some of the key partners that we'd have in the marketplace. As I say, very large employer, big business in County Meath. There's over 1,000 direct and indirect employees. And we'd be the face and name of a lot of big brands operating in Ireland, but would also be the wheels behind, about 200 trucks on the road doing thousands of deliveries a week, keeping the FMCG business and the retail sector fully stocked and those shelves ready to go.
So talk us through the idea behind Bevella and why Primeline decided that there was a gap in the market for this business.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, Carl, we do a lot of logistics and we do a lot of work on behalf of others. And I suppose what we noticed is that we were delivering alcohol for some of our brand partners to both the on and the off trade, but we didn't really have any upstream services. We did deliveries and I suppose we took orders over the phone in terms of customer service. And what we felt ourselves was that there was a gap or an opportunity there for us because indeed we're visiting a lot of the premises anyway. Why couldn't we use our skill and expertise in brand building and in developing brands to bring, I suppose, new impetus and energy to the alcohol sector within Ireland? And that's really where Bevella came to life, as being with the ambition of being, I suppose, Ireland's best independent brand-led distributor.
So what brands is Bevella currently championing?
Yeah, so look, we've had a very clear view and idea that we want to champion Irish brands. We're working with some great brands currently. Muff Gin and Vodka from County Donegal. The Connacht Whisky Company now, which is the first distillery back in Mayo for 150 years, be launching their new Connacht First Cask Whisky quite shortly. Blood Monkey again, another amazing gin product with a Dutch recipe from Geneva. We're working with the Brehon Brewhouse then a lovely brewery in County Monaghan. Two Stacks in Cologne then will be our last two Irish-based brands. Two Stacks, great blended whiskey for a younger portfolio and younger consumer. And Cologne then, beautiful little distillery up in the mountains. But then, look, we've also very briefly had to look internationally because with the best will in the world, we can't produce tequila in Ireland. So we had to go farther afield and we found a beautiful brand called Vivir, Mexican tequila, because we feel that's something that's really on trend. And then we're working with some international rum, dark rum, spice rum producers.
And from your experience, Paul, for the brands that you're now representing, would they have gone direct themselves in the past and maybe not had the success that they thought they would, and now as a result they've looked to companies like yourselves to do it for them?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Carl. And what you do find sometimes is a brand may start off with quite a strong regional play. And I suppose they probably feel that that regional play can develop quite quickly into a national play. But I suppose there's two things Ireland is great for at the moment, food and beverage. And it can be quite a crowded or cluttered space. So sometimes maybe the brand owner needs to maybe understand the category they're entering, the language that needs to be used, the profitability profile. So I suppose we help them really create that business case that makes their product stand out and give the customer an understanding of why the consumer would want to pick it up. And then when you dovetail that then with a nationwide distribution capability, it kind of brings the whole picture together.
And one of the trends that we're seeing in this particular space, in the FMCG space over recent years, is central distribution and national listings. How much of an impact is that having on what you're doing?
Yeah, well, look, I suppose, again, having the ability and having the experience of dealing with all the retailers for so many years, we're well versed and understood how best to make an impact with them and to get on their notice or to get noticed by them. So national distribution and having their own central warehouses is something that's very important to them in terms of ensuring that their customers or their stores have supply. And again, as a distribution partner, we know how to work that model. But similarly, having feet on the street and having a team of 20-odd people on the ground, which is not something that a small single brand is able to do, we're also able to knock on individual doors and take advantage of central billing opportunities, which means we deliver to the back door rather than going into the central warehouse.
And in terms of how Bevella is going to grow, what's your particular strategy in terms of acquiring new clients?
Yeah, well, we're being very selective in terms of who we're working with initially, Carl. And we've been about 6 months putting the portfolio together we have. We're looking for brands with provenance. We're looking for a story. We're looking for passionate and energetic owners. And we're looking for that. What's that point of difference that we can sell to a customer consumer? So, for example, if you look at the gin category, we don't need nor want 5, 6 or 7 different London dry gins. What is the point of difference? Is it grape-based? Is it grain-based? Is it, potato-based? Is it a particular recipe? So when we look at our portfolio, we look at the gaps in terms of what's currently required, but moreover, what we're trying to do is maybe look 12, 18 months down the road of what's happening in New York, London, and Los Angeles, and to see what the next new trends are. And really what we're seeing is tequila, dark and spiced rum are emerging trends, and we need to make sure that we're ready to be able to capitalise on that when those trends start hitting Ireland.
Paul, in terms of your pricing model, are you adopting a monthly retainer or are you providing a payment by results model to your clients?
What we do is we take the cash flow challenge away from our partners. What we do is we buy the product from them. So we buy it into our warehouse, which allows them obviously manage their working capital, which is quite useful for a small business, as I'm sure you know well. So what we do is we buy the product, we warehouse it, we store it, and then what we do is we put our margin on top of the price that we sell it into the retailer at.
And of course, as you mentioned, 2 key trends coming down the track are in relation to the growth in tequila and in the dark rum space. So in that respect, what international relationships has Bevella already developed to date?
Yeah, what's really interesting with that is being one of Ireland's largest distributors in our own right across a number of different portfolios. We've been able to reach into the international marketplace. Some of our own experience as individuals, whether it be our managing director, Sean McNaughton, was the global duty-free manager for Heineken for a number of years. So there's established relationships across a number of countries. We work with a very good UK partner. We have a partner in the US and we have a partner in South America at the moment. So that again, the real ambition here is that we can be on trend, but the real double win or the synergy is that if we can take one of our brands that we've helped our local partner with and get our international partners then to take their brands and put them on shelves internationally. And one of our brands currently is just working through the final elements of achieving a 6-month trial in the UK market.
And Paul, of course, you have vast experience in the distribution business, and it's often said that when a business is appointing a channel partner such as a distributor, it's very much a partnership arrangement for those that want to make it work. So what type of commitment do you require in terms of providing boots on the ground when they're going out to meet with retailers and to tell the story behind the product?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Carl. We can often get caught in that challenge of, the silver bullet. Like Bevella is not a silver bullet for any brand. Yes, we can provide great support and assistance, but the brand also needs to be able to stand up, be able to speak to customers and the brand owners. Interestingly enough, Carl, one of the approaches we take is that we have visited all of the distilleries and locations in Ireland. We've sat down with the owners and we've taken a view really as to how passionate and how forward focused they are with their brand. And what we've done, obviously Zoom has been the only weapon of choice in the last number of months, but we've gotten the brand owners physically on the call with the key retailers and let them tell their story in terms of why the brand is important. We also, from a spirits point of view, welcome when our brand partners make the investment of having their own brand ambassadors on the ground, whether it be one of their own employees, a family member, or somebody with experience they've hired in. Because no one will tell that story better than somebody who's fully ingrained in the brand or the product. And just the last thing I'd say on that, Carl, is one of the reasons why we wanted to set this business up and maybe work with 12 to 15 brands is because we don't want to be in a situation where we've a stable of 100, 120, 130 brands or SKUs, and you lose all the passion and the essence of those individual brands, and you fundamentally cannot represent them all effectively. So we're going to be quite choiceful in terms of our selection from that perspective.
Now, I'm very interested to find out how you can assist Irish brands gain international exposure and actually see their products on the shelves of retailers overseas.
Yeah, well, look, obviously, we would advise all our brand partners to have a symbiotic relationship with the likes of Enterprise Ireland, the likes of Board Bia, and make sure they're on the radar of those exceptionally strong semi-state and support services that are available from the government. I think it's often underestimated by Irish people how powerful a force that Enterprise Ireland and Board Bia can be. So again, we would always make sure that we would make our brands aware of those opportunities that are presented to them. But again, what we would also do is working with retailers, we'd help them to build testimonials for their brand. We'd help them to really understand the consumer profile they're going after. And then we would help them in terms of presentation decks with international retailers. I need to be honest with you at this stage, Carl, we're very early in our inception to be thinking that far down the road in terms of bringing our brands to a mass market in Europe. But we're fundamentally clear that that's part of our 3-year strategy.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Paul McInerney, the Managing Director of Bevella, and we would like to wish Paul every success in realising the growth strategy for their business.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.
Southeast